So, incredibly fascinating story out of Cleveland the past few days. These 3 women rescued after having been kidnapped and held hostage for 10 years. A guy has been arraigned in court, charges of rape, kidnapping, etc. I mean, truly fascinating. So now we've got the case of Elizabeth Smart and J.C. Dugard, the 2 women previously who had been kidnapped, held hostage, and managed to escape. Now 3 more women. There's so many things to talk about with this, but to me, the thing that I've been so fascinated with is how do you return to normal life after that and live a normal life? I mean, you know, the psychological scars that these women are going to have to live with are mind-boggling. Can you imagine what it would be like?
No.
It's like 10 years of their life taken away from them. I don't know. I think they're just going to be damaged. Yeah. I don't think you can ever really be normal. I heard the clip Elizabeth Smart saying, you know, there is hope, you can resume life, but yes, you can resume life, but it won't be back to normal.
Well, she said it's not who you are, it's what happened to you.
Yeah.
But I would think you would think about it all the time.
Yeah, because it's more than just 10 years of your life. I mean, it's 10 years of your life, but it's 10 years of like torture and mental and physical torture and like not knowing if you're ever going to see your family ever again and just being at this place where you're like, is there ever any hope? Like, and hope kind of hurts more to have
for
hope.
Sure, yeah.
I have a friend that's doing life right now in a Greek prison, and he's going through hell right now for a small, relatively small, actually very small drug trafficking charge, and I haven't talked to him in like 10 years. Great guy when I went to school with him. He's in a prison right now, and he's just there. He doesn't know when it's going to end. So that's that situation. I can only imagine what it's like for these girls to be walking along one day and, you know, just having their own day, doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, their life changes forever. I can't even imagine.
And that whole time knowing that no one knows where they are, and that unless some miracle happens, they're going to be there forever, right? Like,
but that also, all they are is behind the walls of a house. Like life is happening meters away from you on the street. You know, to think you're so close to freedom yet so far. I read a really fascinating article on time.com, timemagazine.com, about how sort of the psychological thing that happens, where at first, you know, of course you're going to be fighting against it. You'll be sort of kicking and screaming and trying to make noise, and of course then you'll be, in most of these cases, beat and hurt, and then they were apparently chained up and tied up, so that your captor makes things worse on you, and then you eventually lose the will to keep fighting because just psychologically you can't keep up with that, and then the whole Stockholm syndrome thing always comes up. But it's not that simple, and it seems kind of cliche, but you do start to appreciate kindnesses given to you by your captors because you have nothing, right? So you're thirsty, he gives you a bit of water. Well, you're thankful you're not getting hit again, right? And then there's the women have talked about the fact that they had miscarriages, so they were being repeatedly raped, and the one gal had a baby that came, a 6-year-old daughter, out with her now. I mean, it's truly fascinating. And then, of course, the worst part that this the man who's been charged was comforting one of the gal's mothers when there was a rally to try to find them. This man was out and actually comforted one of the missing girls' moms.
Oh, wow.
I gotta say, I would do anything I could to get my hands on that guy if I was their father. I gotta say, I would go to jail with a smile on my face personally. And maybe that's extreme to say, but I couldn't even think of anything else at that point. I'd be clinically insane, I think. And I just think, like, how many other cases are there out there where girls are missing right now, and what's going on? And like, you know, I sometimes think about that. I walk around, like I'm walking my dogs, and I'm looking at houses, and I'm thinking, you know, everything looks pretty, the picket fence and that and this and that. What kind of things are going on behind those walls that we're not aware of? And it's freaky to me to think that that exists. I mean, just recently, I don't know if you guys heard about this, there was a tweet yesterday where a missing girl was in Winnipeg here. They actually went to go investigate a house, and I don't know if it was because it was spawned by this, you know, story that came out, but maybe there could be some positive things that come out of this. Maybe some, you know, police forces might act on some leads that they had, you know, just kind of to get their minds going and think, maybe there is something to that house that we kind of passed, you know, glazed over or whatever. Maybe some good could come out of it. I don't know.
Well, the news reports are saying that these girls were only ever let out of the house twice into the backyard in disguises, and that was it. So it's not like it's not like there was obvious signs. Some neighbors have come out saying, oh yeah, we saw the police go there, knock on the door and leave. The Cleveland police are saying, no, there is no record whatsoever of police being called to this house for any reason. So, you know, the little stories come up, people try to start something, I guess, or what have you.
Or get on TV, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you think this will lead to some sort of, you know, Privacy Act? Like Jeff said, in your own neighborhood, you can walk by houses, and on the outside it looks perfectly fine. But I mean, any
that's a text. You're driving. You're not driving, so it's okay. You won't get a demerit for that, Kim.
I have to time us so we can stay within time constraints.
Conversation. I don't know if that counts.
That's
sorry, the timer made a little had its fun.
Had its fun. But anyways, like the privacy now, is that going to be an issue? I don't know. Like, I mean, anybody could call.
Privacy rights.
Well, now because everybody's more aware, they're more aware probably of what's going on in their neighborhood, and you know, even a simple phone call to the police now, does that mean that they, you know, there's going to be more of a vigilant effort on any kind of complaint? But I don't know
how much proof the police need to come into your house. Like they would still need a warrant.
Right.
Yeah, it's just interesting.
But do you mean just that you think people are going to be more like aware, and if you see some suspicious behavior, maybe you'll call the police, whereas before you would just think, well, that's kind of weird, and then
brush
move
it
on
off.
with your day.
Yeah.
Right. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Kind
I
of
think that would be the hope. I mean, the police can, no matter how many police you put on the streets or in cruisers, they still need help, right? So, and they've got a tough enough job as it is. I mean, and then you talk about the reports that, you know, they had gone to the house, but then they're saying they didn't. You know what I mean? So there's already enough kind of negative connotations to the police. So it's just like, you know, like, help us out.
Well, in Cleveland in particular, there had been a man had killed, I think it was 11 people, buried them in his yard. There was a horrible stench. People were calling police, and the response was, well, there's a sausage factory nearby. That's the smell, which is funny and awful. And that after that happened, when the bodies were all found, there was a renewed vigilance there with their police force that, you can't gloss over stuff like this. And then yet this happened. Now, granted, if I take you, lock you in my bathroom, and who's going to notice? Who's going to know? It's clean and nice. It's very nice.
No,
recently renovated.
A dirty bathroom. That's why.
But really, you know, I mean, it's
in all these cases, like everyone always talks about, we have to have a renewed vigilance to watch out for this and watch out for that. How long does it really last?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, like things come and go from our minds, from the front of our minds.
Nobody would have expected this to happen anyway. And like in any sort of like situation, I mean, as much as I think that it's a possibility that it could be happening anywhere, I don't feel like it is happening in my neighborhood. I mean, who knows? But I will be more vigilant, but I'm always vigilant like that. Like, I'm always looking out, you know? Good looking out to my neighborhood. I got their backs.
All of them.
Everybody. I don't know their names, but I'm watching out for them.
In their garden.
Like really creepy. Watching out for them.
And I do feel for the families, like the girls, definitely, but their families must be just going through
hell.
Well, for them, it's just elation and joy, right? And
there's got to be a lot of pain involved too.
Sure.
Now they're
aware.
They had accepted the death, right? Obviously of their
gone.
It's going to be post-traumatic
and now there's all that happiness mixed with all the pain of like you were tortured and raped for 10 years. Like, oh my God.
And then probably, crazy. I'm sure, you know, I should have done more to try to find you. I should have, but you know.
If I would have known.
Yeah.
How do you know?
No, you could never know.